"Happy birthday, Daniel," she said, pressing a kiss to my cheek while her ex lingered too close. She didn't see the calm in my eyes, the eyes of a man who had already begun taking everything from her quietly, perfectly. What happened after that night is a masterclass in revenge, betrayal, and the consequences of underestimating the wrong person. Please subscribe, like, comment and watch till the ending. Share this interesting story family and friends. My name is Daniel Briggs, 34 years old, architect, based in Atlanta, Georgia. I design buildings meant to last forever, ironic considering how fragile my own foundation turned out to be. People say architects are dreamers who see shapes in chaos. Maybe they're right. For a long time, I saw stability in uncertainty, faith in betrayal, and love in a woman who never truly loved me. I met Vanessa 7 years ago at a property exhibition downtown. She was a real estate agent, charming, quick-witted, the kind of woman who could sell a house to a man who already owned one. I was drawn to her confidence, the way she laughed like the world couldn't touch her. Back then she told me she'd been through heartbreak, some musician who cheated on her years ago. "Marcus," she said, shaking her head. "Never again." I believed her. We married 2 years later. Our life together was polished. Dinner parties, Sunday brunches, vacation photos that made it look like happiness was easy. Everyone envied us. Even I envied us. She decorated the house, handled the bills, planned the future. I built my career around making sure she never had to worry about anything. But in hindsight, I realize, when someone stops worrying, sometimes it's because they've already stopped caring. It started small. Missed calls. Late nights. The smell of a different perfume when she said she was just meeting clients. The thing about trust is that it dies slowly, one unanswered question at a time. Still, I told myself she was just busy. I told myself not to become like my father, paranoid, suspicious, broken by jealousy. I remember him sitting by the window after my mother left, his eyes empty. I promised myself I'd never beg someone to stay the way he did. Then came the message. It was a week before my birthday. I was sketching a design for a new high-rise when my phone buzzed. "You should watch your back, birthday boy." No name. No photo. Just that. I showed it to Vanessa, half joking. She laughed, too quickly, and said, "Probably Tony messing with you again." But Tony never joked like that. That message should have been my first warning. Instead, I smiled, deleted it, and went back to work, still believing my life was as solid as the blueprints I drew. Only later did I realize, every perfect design begins with one hidden crack. I remember the way Vanessa's voice danced when she said, "This year, I'm throwing you a real birthday party, Danny. No excuses." Her tone was so warm, so effortlessly affectionate, that I almost forgot the strange message from earlier that week. She leaned against the kitchen counter, her silk robe half open, hair still damp from the shower, eyes glowing like nothing in the world could touch her. "Let me handle everything," she said. "You've done enough for everyone. Just show up and look handsome." That was Vanessa, always taking control, always painting her own version of perfection. And I let her. I was buried in work anyway. The firm had just landed a big project, a luxury condominium downtown. I was under pressure, working late nights, chasing deadlines. The party gave her something to focus on while I focused on what I thought was our future. Sometimes I wonder if that distance, those nights apart, was the quiet space where betrayal found its way in. She spent the next few days planning everything down to the last detail. Caterers, lighting, a playlist of our songs. She even rented a tent for the backyard. Every night, she'd talk about guest lists and color schemes, while her phone buzzed on the table, lighting up with names I didn't recognize. When I asked who it was, she'd shrug. "Just clients." That word, clients, became her favorite shield. I brushed it off. I didn't want to be the jealous husband. I wanted to trust her. But something shifted that Thursday evening. I got home early, earlier than usual, and found her outside talking to a tall man near the front gate. He was broad-shouldered, dressed too casually to be a vendor. From the distance, I saw her hand rest briefly on his arm, her laughter soft but intimate. When she noticed me, she stepped back. "Oh, babe," she said, forcing a smile. "That's the decorator. He's helping with the lighting plan." The man turned and grinned at me, that lazy, knowing kind of grin men wear when they're testing another man's patience. "Nice to meet you," he said. "Heard a lot about you." "Likewise," I lied. As he left, I watched the way her eyes followed him just a second too long. That night, while we were in bed, I asked her who he was again. She turned, kissed me softly, and whispered, "You really don't trust anyone, do you?" Then she rolled away, leaving me staring at the ceiling, at the reflection of our chandelier fractured in her vanity mirror. I told myself I was overthinking. I had to be. After all, what kind of wife would invite her secret lover to her husband's birthday party? But the world is cruelly creative when it comes to betrayal. 2 days later, while checking the music playlist on her laptop, I saw a file labeled Marcus Mix. I clicked it. The music that played wasn't ours. It was smooth jazz, the kind Vanessa used to play back when she told me stories about her college boyfriend. His name was Marcus. And just like that, the ghost she swore she bury. He started breathing again, please s. Subscribe for more stories. The night of my birthday arrived warm and gold, the air heavy with the scent of grilled food and expensive perfume. Vanessa's idea of subtlety had always been grand gestures. The backyard glowed under a web of string lights, our house transformed into something out of a lifestyle magazine. Laughter, clinking glasses, jazz playing softly from hidden speakers. From the outside it looked like happiness. But from where I stood it felt rehearsed. Vanessa floated around in a red dress that shimmered with every step. People's eyes followed her. Men smiled, women envied. She had that effortless charm that made everyone believe she was the perfect hostess, the perfect wife. Every time she looked my way, her smile came a second late, like she had to remember to put it on. Happy birthday, brother. Tony, my oldest friend, clapped me on the back. Man, Vanessa really went all out. Yeah, I said, forcing a smile. She did. I tried to lose myself in the noise, in the toasts, the laughter, the music. But my eyes kept drifting to her. She was checking her phone again, hiding it behind her wine glass. I caught her once, fingers trembling as she typed something quick, then slipped the phone into her clutch. Everything okay? I asked when she came to refill my drink. Of course, she said, her tone too light. Just keeping things organized. I nodded, pretending to believe her. But something in my chest started to tighten. Then Tony leaned in closer, lowering his voice. Bro. That guy talking to Vanessa near the pool, the one in the navy shirt, I swear I've seen him before. I turned. There he was. The tall man from the gate. Standing too close to her, holding a glass of whiskey, his eyes tracing her face like they'd memorized every inch. Tony frowned. That's Marcus, isn't it? Her ex. The name hit me like a cold gust. For a second I couldn't breathe. You sure? 100%. He played at that club downtown a few years ago. Remember? The guy with the guitar and the attitude. I looked back at Vanessa. She laughed, too freely, at something Marcus said, touching his wrist in that familiar, tender way. The kind of touch that doesn't belong to strangers. When she saw me watching, she froze. Daniel, she called out, walking over quickly. This is Marcus. He just dropped by. Can you believe it? After all these years. Marcus extended his hand. Happy birthday, man. I took it, his grip firm, his smirk barely polite. Thanks, I said. The silence between us felt loaded. Vanessa's smile flickered, her pulse visible at her neck. I wanted to ask how he knew about the party, why she hadn't mentioned him, but the words got stuck behind my teeth. Small world, huh? Marcus said. Yeah, I murmured, glancing at Vanessa. Smaller than I thought. He raised his glass. To old memories. Her hand trembled as their glasses touched. And for the first time that night, I realized I wasn't standing in a celebration. I was standing in a trap I hadn't seen coming. From that moment, time moved differently. The laughter, the music, even the flickering of the lights all seemed slower, heavier, like the air itself knew something wasn't right. Vanessa tried to pretend everything was normal, but her body betrayed her. I noticed the way she kept a careful distance from me, hovering instead around Marcus, as though gravity itself pulled her toward him. I watched them from across the patio while pretending to chat with coworkers. Marcus looked too comfortable, leaning on the marble bar top, smiling at her like he belonged there. Like he'd never left. The guests adored him, of course, charming, talkative, full of stories. Every few minutes, his hand brushed her waist and she didn't flinch. She didn't even look surprised. The rage that rose in me wasn't loud. It was cold. Controlled. Years of designing precise lines and balance forms had taught me that chaos destroys itself if you don't interrupt it too soon. So I stayed calm. Observing. Learning. Later, while Vanessa disappeared inside to check on the cake, I cornered Marcus near the pool. You came all this way just to say happy birthday? I asked, my tone measured. He grinned. What can I say? Old habits die hard. Old habits. He sipped his drink, unfazed. Vanessa told me you were a serious guy. Guess she was right. She talks about me? All the time, he said, smirking. She says you're steady, reliable. The kind of man every woman should marry. He tilted his head. but not necessarily the one they want. I clenched my jaw. You've got some nerve showing up here. Relax, he said, setting his glass down. She invited me. The words hit me harder than I expected. She what? He leaned closer, voice low. You didn't know? I stared at him, unable to speak. His grin widened as if my silence was confirmation enough. Anyway, don't be so tense. You've got a beautiful wife, a perfect house. Some of us just like revisiting the good old days. Then he walked away just like that, leaving me standing there with my own heartbeat pounding louder than the music. Vanessa returned moments later, holding the cake knife, smiling for the guests. Where's Marcus? I asked quietly. Oh, he's just mingling. Be nice, Daniel. It's my party too. Her tone was soft but sharp, like she was warning me not to make a scene. As the crowd gathered to sing, I caught her glancing toward the back hallway, where Marcus had disappeared. Her lips parted just slightly, her chest rising as if she was struggling to breathe. I leaned in, close enough for her to hear me over the crowd. Did you invite him, Vanessa? Her eyes darted toward the guests. Not now. Answer me. Her smile faltered. Daniel, please. Just enjoy the night. She looked terrified, but not of me. Of exposure. When the candles flickered on my cake, everyone clapped and cheered. I smiled for the cameras. But deep down, a thought had already rooted itself, quiet and venomous. This wasn't just a coincidence. Marcus hadn't crashed the party. He'd been part of it all along. And Vanessa wasn't the victim she once CL. Aim to be, please subscribe for M. Ori stories. The party blurred into noise after that. Every laugh sounded hollow, every toast like mockery. I drifted through the crowd with a smile that didn't reach my eyes, nodding at guests I couldn't name. Vanessa stayed close to Marcus, orbiting him in careful circles. They weren't careless, but they weren't careful enough either. Each stolen glance between them was a confession. At some point I told myself I needed a breather. I slipped away from the lights, up the staircase, my hand trailing along the polished wood of the banister. The laughter below faded, replaced by the soft hum of the air conditioner and the distant murmur of voices. I went upstairs to change my shirt, or that's what I told myself. Really, I just needed to get away from the lie I was standing in. But lies have long shadows. As I passed the guest bathroom, I heard something. A whisper. A breath that didn't belong to silence. Then a laugh, low, nervous, intimate. I froze. The door was slightly open, light spilling into the hallway. I could see movement, the curve of a shadow, the edge of a red dress. Vanessa's red dress. Her voice came first, trembling but soft. Marcus, we shouldn't, he's downstairs. Then he'll never know. He never does. My chest tightened. My hands felt cold. I moved closer, silent, careful not to make the floor creak. Through the small gap, I saw enough to make my stomach twist. Her back pressed against the wall, his hand tracing her jaw, her eyes closed. My brain split in two, one half screaming, the other whispering reason. Don't open that door. But I couldn't move. I just watched. My breath shallow, my pulse deafening. He kissed her. She didn't resist. In fact, she leaned in. And just like that, everything I had built, 6 years of love, faith, and sacrifice, shattered quietly in that hallway. I wanted to burst in. To throw him out, to make her explain. But another part of me, the colder, quieter part, told me to stay still. If I confronted them now, I'd give her what she wanted. Drama. An excuse. A story where she was the victim and I was the unhinged husband. No, she wouldn't get that. So I stepped back slowly until the voices faded. In the mirror at the end of the hallway, I caught my reflection, calm, almost detached. But my eyes looked different. Downstairs, the party music changed. Someone shouting for another round of drinks. I straightened my shirt, adjusted my collar, and forced a smile back onto my face before descending the stairs. When I stepped into the glow of the lights again, people clapped and cheered. Vanessa appeared moments later, radiant, her lipstick smudged but reapplied perfectly. Marcus followed soon after, laughing with someone by the bar as if nothing had happened. I poured myself a drink and whispered to the glass. Happy birthday, Daniel. That was the moment I decided. I wouldn't confront her. I wouldn't cry. I'd burn her peace slowly and she'd never see the smoke coming. I came back down the stairs to the sound of my own name being shouted, laughter, glasses clinking, the smell of wine and steak thick in the air. The guests had gathered around the table where a cake sat waiting, candles already lit. Vanessa stood beside it, radiant, her eyes glassy from champagne or guilt, maybe both. There he is, someone yelled. The man of the hour. I walked toward her, my face calm, my hands steady, though inside I felt like I was carrying a bomb that could go off at any second. Vanessa's gaze met mine, and for the first time that night, she looked afraid. Just for a heartbeat. Then, like an actress remembering her cue, she smiled. "Happy birthday, love," she said, pressing a kiss against my cheek. Her lips trembled. I could still smell him on her. Everyone clapped. The cameras flashed. I forced my lips into something that resembled a smile, even as my jaw ached from holding it there. The candles flickered between us, lighting her face, the face of the woman who had just betrayed me, a floor above our guests. As they started singing, I stared at her, wondering how many other moments she'd stood beside me pretending. "Happy birthday to you." She took my hand, laughing softly. "Make a wish, Daniel." I looked at her, really looked. The red dress, the diamond earrings I bought her last anniversary, the careful makeup hiding exhaustion. And for a brief, 6-second, I realized she didn't even feel guilt. Just fear of getting caught. I blew out the candles. The room erupted in cheers. Vanessa hugged me tightly, whispering, "Don't ruin this, please." Her voice trembled so low only I could hear. I smiled against her ear and whispered back, "You already did." The guests didn't notice the exchange. They were too busy cutting cake, refilling glasses, posting photos. To them, we were still perfect, the golden couple celebrating another milestone. Marcus approached with 2 glasses of champagne. "To the birthday man," he said, offering one. I took it. "To old memories," I replied, echoing his earlier words. Our eyes locked, a silent exchange sharper than any argument. Then, with everyone watching, I raised my glass high. "To honesty," I said, my voice even. "May we all find it before it's too late." A few people laughed. Vanessa didn't. Her smile cracked for just a second before she looked away. That night, I played my role flawlessly, smiling for photos, shaking hands, pretending nothing had changed. Inside, I was somewhere else entirely, already mapping out the next step. Because if there's one thing I learned as an architect, it's that demolition isn't chaos, it's precision. And before you rebuild, you have to tear everything down. When the last guest finally left, the backyard looked like a battlefield of confetti and half-empty bottles. The string lights still glowed, but their warmth had faded. Vanessa was in the kitchen, laughing with one of her friends, her voice hollow and overbright. I stood by the door, watching her, the woman who had spent the evening pretending nothing had happened. I couldn't look at her without seeing that bathroom door. The shadow of her body against his. The sound of her voice whispering my name in another man's breath. I set my glass down and said quietly, "I need some air." She didn't even turn around. "Don't stay out too long," she said. "You've had enough to drink." That was the moment I knew she didn't love me anymore. She didn't even see me. I could disappear right then, and all she'd worry about was whether I'd left the lights on. I picked up my jacket and walked out into the night. The air outside was cool, sharp, and honest. I could finally breathe again. The laughter, the lies, the heat of the house, all of it stayed behind me. The driveway was lined with cars, remnants of a party that wasn't mine. I walked past them down the street toward my car. As I started the engine, my reflection in the window looked unfamiliar, older, harder. I didn't drive home. I didn't even know where I was going. I just drove. The city at night is a strange thing, silent in some places, chaotic in others. I passed the spots where Vanessa and I used to go, the little cafe where she pretended to love my terrible sketches, the bookstore where she swore she'd never keep secrets. Each memory hit like a stone against glass. I ended up at the river bridge on the edge of town. The same bridge where my father once told me, "If you ever find yourself begging someone to stay, you've already lost." Back then, I didn't understand what he meant. Watching him break after my mother left, I swore I'd never become him. I'd never give anyone that power. I took off my wedding ring and rolled it between my fingers. It caught the light from the dashboard, a small, innocent circle, just like the promises we made. Promises that had become cages. I stepped out of the car, leaned over the railing, and let the ring fall. It caught the moonlight once, a flash of gold before vanishing into the dark water below. "Your turn, Vanessa," I whispered. The wind carried my words away, and with them, the last piece of the man I used to be. When I got back into the car, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't heartbroken. I was empty. And emptiness is dangerous. It makes space for something new. Something colder. That's when the plan began to take shape. Slow, silent, perfect. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to erase her. Quietly. Completely. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the dark living room, the faint hum of the refrigerator filling the silence, and planned. Not out of rage, that had burned away hours ago. What remained was precision, the kind that comes when pain has calcified into purpose. Vanessa had always underestimated me. To her, I was the steady one, predictable, patient, loyal to a fault. She didn't know that years in finance had taught me more than numbers. I knew how to disappear money without leaving traces, how to trace transactions, how to rebuild stories on paper until fiction looked like truth. By dawn, I knew exactly where to start. The next morning, I kissed her on the forehead before leaving for work. She smiled sleepily, unaware of the storm quietly circling her. That smile, that casual trust, almost broke me. Almost. I drove to the office like any other day, greeting my assistant, answering calls, going through the motions. But under the surface, everything was shifting. My first stop was the joint investment portfolio, the one I had set up for our future. I began rerouting assets into a new trust under my name only. Slow enough not to trigger alerts. Quiet enough that she wouldn't notice until it was too late. That night, Vanessa cooked dinner, her favorite dish, jollof rice with grilled chicken. She poured wine, asked about my day, acted as if nothing was broken. I played along, smiling, even laughing. She didn't realize that every nod, every shared look, was me memorizing how it felt to act normal while tearing down the life we built. 2 weeks later, I took it further. Her car, technically registered under my name. I sold it to a dealership out of town. Told her it was in for repairs. She didn't question it. Then I withdrew her from the savings account, bit by bit, keeping the balance just high enough to look untouched. It was astonishing how easy it was to erase someone when they never expected you to fight back. But revenge isn't only about money. It's about meaning. I knew her job, the small event management company she adored, was struggling. Their biggest client was a corporate firm I handled finances for. I made a single call, a subtle suggestion that another agency might be more reliable. Within a week, her contract was terminated. Watching her crumble was like watching a slow sunset. Painful, beautiful, inevitable. One night she came home, eyes red, holding a letter. "Daniel," she said softly, "they let me go." I looked up from my laptop, pretending to be surprised. "What? Why?" She sat beside me, her voice breaking. "They said something about budget cuts. I don't know what to do." For the first time in months, she reached for my hand. I let her hold it, let her feel safe. Because that's the thing about revenge, it works best when your target still believes they're loved. As she cried against my shoulder, I stared past her, at the reflection of the two of us in the window. She saw comfort. I saw justice. And for the first time since my birthday, I felt alive. It had been 2 months since that night, my birthday, the night everything changed. Vanessa's world was crumbling quietly, piece by piece, while I maintained the illusion of normalcy. She woke every day thinking she could fix it, that one call, one apology, one plea could bring us back to where we were. But the truth was, she had already lost more than she realized. The first time she came to my office, I wasn't expecting her. I was reviewing plans for a new skyscraper downtown, the kind of building that would outlive all of us. She stepped into the reception, hesitant, breath shallow. Her hair was a mess, eyes puffy from tears, the red dress of my memory replaced by something muted and wrinkled. "Daniel?" Her voice cracked. "Please, can we talk?" I looked up slowly, folding my hands on the desk. My expression was calm, measured, the Daniel she thought she knew. "We already did," I said softly. "You just didn't realize I was listening." Her eyes widened. "I don't understand." I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence fill the room. She fidgeted, twisting a strand of hair around her finger, trying to reclaim some control. I lost my clients, my job. Everything is falling apart." "Why?" I tilted my head, watching her carefully. "You tell me, Vanessa. Why would a woman betray the one person who trusted her completely?" She flinched. The question hit deeper than any rebuke because she knew it was true. I made mistakes," she whispered. "I never meant." "You never meant?" I echoed. My voice was quiet, almost tender, but every word cut like glass. "You walked into my house with him here. You let him touch you while pretending to celebrate me. That's not a mistake. That's a choice." She lowered her gaze. For the first time she looked small. Vulnerable. The golden confidence she wore like armor at the party had melted away under the weight of reality. Her phone buzzed on the desk. I glanced at it. "Marcus." She didn't answer. She never would again. I stood, walking slowly around my office. 2 months ago you were laughing at your party while I watched you betray me. Today you come here hoping what? That I'll save you? That I'll fix what you destroyed? Her voice was barely audible. I regret everything, Daniel. Please. I shook my head. Regret doesn't undo actions. It doesn't fix what's gone. It doesn't rebuild trust. And it certainly doesn't bring back respect. She sank into the chair, tears streaking her face. I let her stay there, her own silence filling the space. I could have left. I could have yelled, confronted her in a way that gave her release. But my revenge was never about spectacle. It was quiet, precise, like the removal of a tumor. Her pride, her career, her relationships, all quietly dismantled piece by piece. All by me. She stayed until the sun began to dip behind the city skyline, and then she left without a word. The woman who once controlled the room with her smile now walked alone, carrying nothing but regret. And as the door closed behind her, I returned to my blueprints, calm, satisfied. Because revenge, when done silently, is the kind that echoes the longest. It had been 2 months since that night, my birthday, the night everything changed. Vanessa's world was crumbling quietly, piece by piece, while I maintained the illusion of normalcy. She woke every day thinking she could fix it, that one call, one apology, one plea could bring us back to where we were. But the truth was she had already lost more than she realized. The first time she came to my office, I wasn't expecting her. I was reviewing plans for a new skyscraper downtown, the kind of building that would outlive all of us. She stepped into the reception, hesitant, breath shallow. Her hair was a mess, eyes puffy from tears, the red dress of my memory replaced by something muted and wrinkled. Daniel, her voice cracked. Please, can we talk? I looked up slowly, folding my hands on the desk. My expression was calm, measured, the Daniel she thought she knew. We already did, I said softly. You just didn't realize I was listening. Her eyes widened. I don't understand. I leaned back in my chair, letting the silence fill the room. She fidgeted, twisting a strand of hair around her finger, trying to reclaim some control. I lost my clients, my job. Everything is falling apart. Why? I tilted my head, watching her carefully. You tell me, Vanessa. Why would a woman betray the one person who trusted her completely? She flinched. The question hit deeper than any rebuke because she knew it was true. I made mistakes, she whispered. I never meant. You never meant? I echoed. My voice was quiet, almost tender, but every word cut like glass. You walked into my house with him here. You let him touch you while pretending to celebrate me. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. She lowered her gaze. For the first time she looked small, vulnerable. The golden confidence she wore like armor at the party had melted away under the weight of reality. Her phone buzzed on the desk. I glanced at it. Marcus. She didn't answer. She never would again. I stood, walking slowly around my office. 2 months ago you were laughing at your party while I watched you betray me. Today you come here hoping what? That I'll save you? That I'll fix what you destroyed? Her voice was barely audible. I regret everything, Daniel. Please. I shook my head. Regret doesn't undo actions. It doesn't fix what's gone. It doesn't rebuild trust. And it certainly doesn't bring back respect. She sank into the chair, tears streaking her face. I let her stay there, her own silence filling the space. I could have left. I could have yelled, confronted her in a way that gave her release. But my revenge was never about spectacle. It was quiet, precise, like the removal of a tumor. Her pride, her career, her relationships, all quietly dismantled piece by piece. All by me. She stayed until the sun began to dip behind the city skyline, and then she left without a word. The woman who once controlled the room with her smile now walked alone, carrying nothing but regret. And as the door closed behind her, I returned to my blueprints, calm, satisfied. Because revenge, when done silently, is the kind that echoes the longest. Subscribe, like, comment and share for more interesting stories.